Yeah. Alright. Get that out of here. Hello everyone, this is me, GameSlayer99, aka No Brainer. Welcome to another Star Wars Destiny video. I decided to steal a set because no one else was using it, and today we have 3 spoilers from the ARH group. Mama, I made it! I'm an actual YouTuber. Well, I'm an actual member of the Star Wars Destiny community. Look at this, I got spoilers. They noticed me, senpais noticed me, woo! Okay, so, if you can't hold your anticipation, then I suggest check in the description below, because there is an Imager album of the 3 spoilers that I've got, 1, 2, 3. But for those of you who want to be with me in this, welcome to a Destiny video. Yep, there we go. We have 3 spoilers today, and Rock and Troll sent me the spoilers. Well, he asked me, do you want any spoilers? And I said, yes, absolutely. Give me the spiciest spoilers you absolutely can. And he said, we'll see what we can do. And you know what? He's delivered. He's given me 3 of the spiciest, well, 1 of the spiciest spoilers and 2 other cards in this. So let us begin with the Deflector Shield. There we go, the Deflector Shield. I'm doing all this live, screw editing. This Deflector Shield says modify vehicle support. It is a mod for a vehicle, and it says if the attached vehicle would be discarded from play, discard this upgrade instead. Okay, shield generator, right? Shield generator on a mod. Also, it actually generates shields. It's a shield generator that generates shield, not called shield generator. Instead, it's called Deflector Shield. After you activate attached support, give a character 1 shield. So, it protects you from the cards like what is it, Sabotage, that's the new one, but more importantly, it protects you against DM, right? That's the big one. You've got a vehicle support here. If you're a vehicle support deck and you've got to deal with DM, this is a card that's going to help you. But the order of operations matters here. You see, what we have is a mod, not a support. So the thing about shield generator is you can play the shield generator and then you can play your big vehicle. You can't do that in this, because you've got to have the support hit the field first and then survive. So that's the problem with it. On the other hand, whenever you activate the support, you're getting a shield. So this is going to be very useful, especially for mill decks with the Anakin's Pod Racer, because a lot of people really want to play with the Anakin's Pod Racer because they really want to make mill work again. You know who you are. I also kind of want to do it sometimes, you know. I don't really judge you, but we are going... So, you're going to need to play this if you want to not get DM'd, and then there's the Sabotage, or whatever that blue one is. It's the spend resources equal to the cost of a vehicle to boop it out of existence. And yeah, there's not that much to say about it on its own, because this, ladies and gentlemen, is pilot theme. Sort of. We're going to move on to the battlefield next. I said we're going to move on to the battlefield next. The battlefield next. There we go. Oh. Battlefields come sideways, guys. Don't worry. I can do this. We got... rotate. Hey! There we go. Battlefield. So, this is Camino. Tripoca City? What? Tripoca City. There we go. Tripoca City. So, this battlefield has 2 effects. It has a power action and a claim ability. And each of those is about 3/4 as good of a battle. Well, each one of those is pretty good. So, we got the power action, which is re-roll one of your dice. Then you may resolve it. And the claim is re-roll opponent's dice. You may force them to resolve it, if able. So, this battlefield, it's a crumb, just a crumb, a little tiny crumb of action cheat, which is very nice. You know, that power action is an action cheat. It's going to be very useful to roll the die, hit a good side, and resolve it, obviously. And you know what? I think people underestimate the value of a reroll in general. As the game goes on, as the game has gone on in its existence, cards have become more and more valuable in the hand over time. So a card that lets you... So, a battlefield that lets you reroll is nice. And it's a power action as well, so if you are going first, if you've got the battlefield to start, then you do get that immediate advantage. And it can also bait out some opponent removal on dice they might otherwise not like, right? Like, if you're playing Gurindon with a Crime Lord, for example, and you've just got a Crime Lord die sitting there, it's not got its special side, they're kind of going to have to remove it anyway, because otherwise you're just going to reroll it and it's going to hit that special side and you're going to kill someone. But maybe they're going to be, Mando. That's a classic Mando. That is, right? He's got a 2 range, a 3 range, a 2 melee. Those are terrifying Those are terrifying dice size to resolve, So with this battlefield, you roll out Mando. He hits a blank on one of his dice. They might still need to remove that blank. But of course, it's Mando, right? You're gonna have cards to discard to reroll to try and get more stuff over time. That's kind of how Mando works. But it's still scary. It's very scary, because if you get to do that within one action, they're gonna have to do that before going for their discard to reroll. So if they've got a lot of removal, they might be spending it on that, and then you realize you don't have to spend the card from hand. Also, the claim, right? It's a doubt. Doubt is good. If you're being fast, being able to claim this is great. Now, it's not quite doubt, okay? So you can't remove the die. So if it hits a blank or a pay side and they don't have the money, either of those two things, then you can't actually get them to resolve it. And the die doesn't get removed. So it's doubt, but has a 1 in 6 chance of not working, rather than doubt having a 1 in 6 chance of, being amazing. But, if Tarkin rolls in, and he's got 1 health left, and you re-roll him into that 3 for 1 indirect, he has to resolve it, and then he's dead. So, I really want to see if someone can do that. That would be hilarious. That would be amazing. And you got that little bit of action sheep. So, fast decks, Mando decks, pilot decks, they might want to run this. One thing I will say is that a lot of battlefield choices in these games are very deterministic. I'd say that usually people are only ever going to pick, the absolute best battlefield or the safest battlefield. The safest battlefield because they're never going to be able to claim because they're a really slow deck, and the best ever battlefield because they're going to claim all the time and always win, right? You've got Mean Streets, you've got stuff like Mean Streets, you've got stuff like Outer Rim Outpost, that sort of thing, but they're all rotating out now, right? So without that, maybe this sort of battlefield could see play. I personally, I think the only person to play Sith Temple Malachor in the World 2019, I like weird battlefields. Battlefields that, you have value if you claim, but also, if your opponent claims, it's also not the end of the world. Those battlefields are the most interesting to me, because then it becomes a real tactical decision of if you want to claim or not. Or just how to get speed going, right? Also, worth noting, I haven't actually mentioned this part. Whoops! It's a red battlefield. We've seen a yellow battlefield, this is a red battlefield, there's probably going to be a blue battlefield on the way. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, hasn't that already been a red battlefield? No, Perimeter Outpost required you to have 2 red characters in order to play it, but it wasn't itself a red battlefield. This one is now a red battlefield. Distinction without a difference, I tell you. Finally, we're going to come on to the big card, though, because this is the spice. This is the card that I'm excited for. It is gonna need to be flipped. I'm gonna flip it first, so that way, there we go. Alright, it is... Boom! Ace Pilots. Yeah. Oh god, my throat already. Water. Always have water. So, team up 1, each unique pilot. This is a pilot plot with red. Cost 2 points. Action. Set this plot aside and spend resources equal to the cost of a unique vehicle in play to make it elite. Place a second copy of its die in this. So, 1 time per game, you get to spend the cost of a vehicle to make it elite. An elite vehicle with a plot. That's Team Up Pilots! There's some cool stuff you could do with this. So, thinking about the kinds of vehicles you could do. You could do Blizzard. This is not a hero card, this is a neutral card. Heroes have some really good vehicles right now. Villains don't have very good vehicles right now, but they've got Blizzard 1. So if you really want to spend 8 money on 1 Blizzard die, when you already have 2 Blizzard die, you absolutely can do. More seriously, there is a card that was in the reprint list. It was Black 1. So, let me not do that. That is the complete scene going away. Boom. Here it is. Let me just move this down to like here, I guess. There we go. It's now tiny. You can't ever read it ever again. Let me move this up. Let me straighten this up. This is Sabine Wren's TIE Fighter. This is the complete wrong card. I'm going to be talking about this later. Black 1. There we go. So, Black 1 recently got put back on the list, and you've got to be thinking to yourself, games like, why would you want to run Black 1? Well, very simply, the answer is, yes, I do have this one. Boom, BB-8. So, BB-8 lets you spot a vehicle to attach it as a mod, but if it's Black 1, you get a ready vehicle, right? So if you make Black 1, if you play Black 1 for 2, you make it elite, you now have 2 dice on it. Then you roll it out, and then BB-8 comes in, and it readies it. So you get an extra 2 dice instead of 1 die when you do BB-8, when you have BB-8 here. So you gain a lot of extra value onto your eliteness, per se. And of course, Black 1 is the sort of vehicle where it's got some good size on it. You know, it's got some good size on it, and I love that special, personally. And the power action's also really nice when you've got multiple dice in play, because one's going to turn into something good, and one's probably going to be something not so good. And then you can use Poe to swap that around. Like, it was never that great to have to roll 2 dice, to roll the Black 1 die out and have it hit a 1 range or a 2 range, and be like, well, I'm gonna, I guess, use the power action to turn it to the special to do 1 damage and hope for another roll. I mean, okay, you could probably get away with it with the 1 range, but the 2 range you couldn't. This way, you're now going to be able to see that. And of course, on the turn that you play, you're going to have 4 dice. 4 dice. This is insane. But that is just one of the things, right? If you're talking about unique red vehicles, Black 1 is probably your best option. But there's some other very interesting things you can do with Elite. Not just with red, but you've also got yellow, right? So yellow have some expensive stuff. They have, I don't have it up. Okay, don't mind me, just Outrider. They have Outrider. Please show me Outrider. Loading. There we go. Outrider. So Outrider, it costs a lot of money, right? It costs 4 resources. You could get a second Outrider die, though. That's pretty good, right? Yeah, it's pretty good. Much more interesting, though, is something like Ugly. So Ugly costs 1 resource to play, and it then costs 1 resource to make Elite. But it was a good card, right? Ugly was it was a used card. The weakness of Ugly, of course, is that it's unique. Ugly's not unique. This whole time, it has to be a unique vehicle. We're skipping this section. Now, the other interesting thing with Elites is that you can also... Right, well, we've seen 1 reset effect. So let me go ahead and I'll bring you out the other really good reset effect. Which is a character who's not... Well, it has seen some play. She's seen play in Spectres. She's not bad. Her name is... Not... Here. How did I ruin this? Again, a second time. I'm not prepared. I've got like 12 tabs of cards here, and I yet for a second time, Hera. There we go. Give me Hera, please. Stars SNBB. Yeah, there's a bunch of them. Oh, yeah, the covert missions one, please. Thank you. There we go. Hera, the season captain. So with Hera, if you pilot a vehicle, you get to spend 2 money and reset it and ready it again. This wasn't particularly valuable against most decks. However, well, this wasn't particularly valuable with most decks, for most vehicles. Most vehicles, you need something really good for it to be worth 2 resources. Generally speaking, you're not going to be able to get that. A lot of the red vehicles aren't great. You've got Ghost. Ghost is great with this, right? But most of them weren't great. But if they're elite, you're getting extra value out of that, right? The black one is worth 4, and Outrider is worth 8 on this. That's pretty good. And then, of course, you've got stuff like Ghost, which is... Spectres are still a thing, right? They're covert missions. They're going to be around for a few sets. Yeah, Hera herself, of course, is a pilot. You're going to be able to get that shield gain from the die twice, which is pretty nice. But you're going to get it 4 times. 4 times. Because after you resolve this die is the key word here. So, with vehicles that have the word this die now is going to refer to both of those dice. So Ghost is going to give you a shield for every time you resolve it. If Hera is piloting it, then you are going to get a shield for each of those 2 dice from the eliteness. If Hera has managed to ready it, it is going to give you 4 shields. If any of your other pilots have piloting, they're also going to get 4 shields over the course of the round. That is pretty insane. Even though most of the time, people are going to be resolving, direct damage, so only half of that shield gain is going to really matter, unless there's some nice blue cards that come out. Riposte is no longer on the format. But if there was some nice cards that was like blue shields matter, that would be great with Hera. Finally, I want to, well, not finally, but next I want to talk about one other character who is very interesting with an elite vehicle, and that is Luke Skywalker. Not the Luke Skywalker that was all the sacred Jedi texts. No. I'm talking about pilot Luke Skywalker. So, Luke Skywalker, Red 5, whilst you're piloting a vehicle, increase its value by 1. Well, before you resolve it, but increase its value by 1. So, what this is saying is that both of those dice that are elite are now increased by 1. Both of them. So, a Ghost is going there, and it is 2 dice. That's a 3/3 plus 4, 3, 2, 2 on each of them. That's pretty good. That's really good. Black 1 also very, very valuable now with Luke Skywalker. You get that double value. The double value that Luke is the Jarkai of vehicles, okay? He was played decently. Again, he's covert missions. There was a lot of these pilots. A lot of them were covert missions. And Luke is very powerful for a pilot if you have the elite vehicles. What's really nice, by the way, with ace pilots is that it's not a card from your hand. You don't have to try and get a janky combo. Black 1, of course, Black 1 needs BB-8. But in general, if you just play a vehicle and you've got a bunch of them, you got Ghost, you got Black 1, you got a bunch of other stuff, and you just need to make something elite, you can do. And all it costs is some money. All it costs is money. Of course, pilots tend to have resource difficulties. They tend to have some problems making money unless you're running someone like Dash. Unless you're running the yellows. And of course, this is a red plot. So you've got to have a red character in there. But I could definitely see a Luke with someone red, like, I don't know, a Poe or another Poe. Either of these Poes, right? The 2-player set Poe has some very good value here. He's a pilot. And then, of course, the Covert Missions Poe, also very powerful. His power action prefers to have a huge suite of vehicles, which you don't necessarily get with this. But one of the big problems with Poe was that you couldn't resolve the die because you pilot the thing and then they just remove the die before you get to power action. With this, rolling both dice out, it becomes much harder for them to cancel out your Poe. And it also makes it more likely that your Poe is going to blink and, roll those things out. And this is why are pilots getting so much good stuff? Well, that's because Instigate went away. Instigate was one of the primary win conditions of pilots, right? So a pilot deck plays Instigate to activate a character with ambush. Activating the character activates the support. Activating the support, if it's the Falcon, can activate another character. And you can start getting into these... And you get into these crazy chains because that other character can then activate another one, and then you've put all your dice out there, and then you're going to jump to Lightspeed and win the game. And what I love about these changes is that pilots are moving more into the slower. I mean, so the dice they get is fast. They get to roll in all their dice quite quickly still. I mean, by being elite, it plays perfectly into how pilots want to play. They want to get all of their dice out as quickly as they can, so making a vehicle elite is very valuable there. But it also plays very nicely into their high damage sort of thing. They don't need to spend very many cards to get their damage output high. They don't need very many vehicles, because with the elite abilities, they could probably just put in like 5, maybe 6 vehicles and be probably good with that, right? They're not going to need very many upgrades, if any. They're not going to need that sort of stuff. So they'll be able to fit a lot more events in here. And I feel very sorry for Infinite players, because you guys are going to have to deal with Millennium Falcon, Instigate, Drop In, Hit and Run, all this stuff, along with like the elite vehicles now. Good luck to you guys. Pilots are probably going to be very dominant there. But I mean, this is Infinite. That's Infinite, so that can do stuff, right? Now, I want you to imagine that whilst you're sitting there, or standing there, or in the bus, or whatever, maybe you're outside, but whatever the case, things around you just shrink and shrink and shrink until it's in the palm of your hand, and outside is the white void of emptiness. I want to think outside of the box for a moment. So, very interestingly, we've got Luke here. He increases values by 1. We've got Hera. She resets. We've got BB-8 with the Black 1 reset. That's really nice. But you know what? Here's another vehicle that you guys might not have seen coming that I think could be very powerful here. Phantom. So Phantom is super interesting here, because Phantom is usually a weak card, right? You attach it to Ghost. You know, that's interesting, though, because you get to attach it to Ghost and detach it from Ghost. So you have 2 activations of this thing. You have Luke with that, you know, you're hitting that. That's a 2 range, you know, that's pretty good. It costs 1. To make it elite, it's going to cost another 1. But what's interesting is that eliteness doesn't go away. When a vehicle becomes a mod, the eliteness isn't going to go away. We know this with the LR30, whatever that character was, who attaches to Millennium Falcon, and if they're elite, they still attach to Millennium Falcon. So with Phantom, you get the elite upgrade and the elite vehicle. So you're rolling 4 Phantom dice here. Now, you don't have a resource side on. Thank God you don't have a resource side on, because otherwise with Luke this would be insane. But with Phantom and Luke, you have potentially 8 damage coming out of this Phantom per turn, provided you've got a Ghost on the field. I personally think that's a much better value proposition than actually playing Ghost and having multiple Ghost dice. Multiple Ghost dice is going to get those beautiful shields, but with the Phantom, that's insane. Now, the best thing as well, of course, is that if you're playing with Hera and you've got Ghost on the field, and then you decide to ready the Ghost and Phantom is equipped to Ghost, Phantom gets to go again as well. So you're not even lowering that much the value of readying the Hera. So I think this whole thing is going to come very powerful. I would not be surprised to see a Luke Hera deck come out. I want to see a Luke Hera deck come out. We've also got some other stuff, right? So also with Phantom's really cool. We've also got Blue Ace. Blue Ace is interesting here, because Blue Ace is whenever you resolve the die, you get to put the resource on it. With 2 dice, you only have to resolve one of them, and then you've got the other one with the resource on it. So you can basically every turn... So the way Blue Ace usually worked, it usually wasn't considered that great of a card, but you'd play it because you haven't really got that many other great options. With Blue Ace, you'll resolve the first die, and then the second die is going to be a +1. You can choose then whether or not you're just going to have +1 forever, or if you're going to go higher. So if one of those dice comes out great, that's fantastic. So, and Blue Ace, of course, was one of those very few vehicles that actually had a resource side on it. We've got Ugly now. Ugly has a resource side on it, but unfortunately, Ugly I was really wanting to do a whole thing with Ugly, but Ugly, I can't find it anymore on my tabs. There it is. Ugly would have been great because you could spend one die on the removal of the systems malfunction, and then the other could be for the damage, and then after that you've got 2 dice that are both fantastic. But unfortunately, Ugly is not elite. But Blue Ace has a resource side on it. It has some good dice on it. I mean, they're not fantastic, don't get me wrong. The disrupt is good, the shields are okay, the indirect, I mean, it's all there, right? None of it's great, but all of it's there. Blue Ace is a lot better once you've... Blue Ace gets a lot better, though, once you've resolved that first die. Because when everything's a 2, when it's a 2, 3 indirect, 3 disrupt, 3 shield, 2 resource, that's a good die. So if you're doing exactly what I'm suggesting with Ugly here, first one you just resolve it and you get the plus, and then after that you get the massive, that can go on really well. Now Blue Ace can have its dice removed, unfortunately. That's going to be one of those factors in it, but it could get pretty high. And if you do decide that you just roll disrupt and shield and you don't want to take the shield and disrupt, well, you're okay taking it, because then you get to buff up the next one even more until eventually you roll that ranged or indirect side, and then you're going to hit for a lot of damage. You get 2 tokens on this per turn, and that adds up because 2 becomes 4, and then on the 3rd round you're hitting for 6 indirect-ish. That's 5 indirect, I guess, but that's pretty high. That's really good, especially if you combo that with something like Crush. Is that a hero card or is that a villain card? What is it? Crush? It's that yellow one we got in high stakes. Nope, not there. Okay, I'm gonna just very briefly look for this card. Smash, there we go. It's a villain card. Okay, never mind on that bit. Oh well. But still, Blue Ace, good card with this. I guess technically if you get an engineer and the L38 or whatever it was, you could play villain cards and hero cards at the same time. That could be interesting. Yeah, that could be interesting. We're still talking about out-of-the-box thinking, That could be very interesting. You've also got stuff like Wedge's X-Wing, which has an interesting thing about it, because if a die rolls blank, you get to put a damage on another vehicle, or an upgrade. Or, well, support or upgrade. Which can be good against Jar Guys and stuff, but you have to roll that blank. If you got 2, you're rolling the blank a lot more likely, right? You got a much higher chance of getting that 1 in 6 instead of that 1 in 6. It's what, 1 in 4? 1 in 3? I should really know this maths. 1 in 3 is what I'm going to say, because it's roughly about that, I guess, of getting that 6. No, that was with 2. I know that 2 1 in 3s makes 55%, because that was Yoda math, and Yoda math is very important to me. Okay, well, whatever. Point is, you got a much higher chance of hitting that blank with Wedge, and then putting that damage on, and then you can remove this die, so you remove one of those dice, probably the blank, to destroy the upgrade, which can be the Jark Eyes, or your opponent who is playing vehicles, and they've put something elite, and that is where the Deflector Shield comes into things, right? That's why Deflector Shield comes into things. You're protecting your elite vehicle with this. And that's why you play the Deflector Shield. Of course, you can also play it with something like Poe, with the black one, because if you're readying it again, you get that extra shield, which is very nice, And of course, it makes mods valuable again. The dorsal fin turret was on the list. It was on the rotation. So, everything I've said about Hera and Black One, just add dorsal fin turret to it. Dorsal turret to it. Not fin turret. Dorsal turret to it. Because that's pretty huge as well. Now, you've also got some interesting stuff in the form of Zandu's Blood. It's a villain. We're probably going to get some good villain pilots, I would expect. Either in this set or another set in the future, because, come on. You've put ace pilots, it's neutral. I mean, I know villains basically got all of the bounty hunters, but come on. You've got some cool vehicles in villains, so surely we get some nice pilots with this. So with Xanadu Blood, the Untitled Blood is a vehicle that I actually really like. There's no really deck for it. But the idea that you could move an upgrade from one person to another, which when you move an upgrade, it removes the die from the pool, right? So if both heroes are, so if both opponent's characters are, all of your opponent's characters are exhausted, it's removal. You can also do it for Jarkai, right? You can move the Jarkai and then any of their excesses goes away, bye-bye. It just gets a lot easier to do this when you've got 2 dice, because then they can't remove both of them without something like a Headstrong. Or Power of the Tribe, I guess. Something powerful, at any rate, right? If they don't get that, they can't do it. They can't stop you. And that's very powerful. Now, it's worth noting with Untitled Blood, Cad Bane gets piloting. That doesn't work so well because it asks for a pilot, not piloting. In fact, is Cad Bane a pilot? That would be interesting to know. Is Cad Bane a pilot? Cad Bane. Nope, he is just a bounty hunter. Sorry, guys. No Cad Bane love here. X-Wings. Akbar. He costs 28 points. 29 points. Does he cost 30 points now, actually? Did they nerf him by making him cost 30? Or does he still only cost 29? Or 28? One of the two. Oh, he costs 30 now. Oh. I guess you pair 23-point Akbar with the 7-point pilot, I guess. And then you get X-Wing. Right? And if you make the X-Wing elite, it doesn't count as another X-Wing. But Akbar's all about getting X-Wing dice in the pool. You could be like... It used to be that if Akbar gets to turn 4, they win because they've got 4 X-Wing dice that are each like 4 ranged. That's pretty good. So if you get... On turn 3, if you make your X-Wing elite, then you've got 3 dice. You've got 4 dice that are doing 3 each, which is still enough to kill a character, which is still pretty huge. So that might let you to win the game a turn earlier. But because your Akbar can't be elite, then you got to be a turn later. But, you know, maybe the Holocron is going to change and Akbar's going to go to 29 points. Hopefully. One can dream. There's also Sabine Wren's TIE Fighter. This is another vehicle that never saw play. Ever saw play. Pretty much. It's got ambush on it, so you can play it and then immediately play your Deflector Shield to definitely defend against it if you really, really want to. But the question is, how is this worded? So, because this die can refer to both dice, it says, after this die modifies a Spectre die, you may discard a card from your hand to roll this die into the pool. What happens if you've got two TIE Fighter dice? Could it be that you've got one die? When the one die gets resolved, you get to roll it back in. Great. So if you've got both of them, they're both doing a +2, you get to roll both of them back into the pool. That's fantastic with your Hera, because, you know, you were playing Hera. But maybe the ruling would be instead, you know, some crazy Viper Probe droid shenanigans that, like, I'm going to have to ask Gandor. I should have asked him before this video, let's be honest. I was kind of... I jumped the gun here, guys. I'm sorry. I should have asked, if I have one of them in the pool and I modify the Spectre die, do I get to discard one card and roll them both back in? Because I could see a universe where that exists. It'd be, after this die, you may discard a card from your hand to roll this die into your pool. Because it doesn't say to roll it back into the pool. It says this die. So, in theory, I could... So, at the very minimum, I know that I could resolve one die and then choose which of those 2 dice to roll into the pool. Realistically, that makes no difference, but if I've got a preference for the die, because one of them's my lucky die, I don't know, I've been, you know, oven baking my TIE Fighter dice, then I get to choose. So maybe that's relevant. We'll see. Because if you get to chain it so that one of them rolls twice, I mean, Sabine Wren's TIE Fighter's got a resource side on it. That makes it a pretty good vehicle. A 2 cost with a resource side can make it a pretty good vehicle. And with these things in mind, you know, if Sabine Wren's TIE Fighter exists like that, then that's definitely a candidate for eliteness. You've got the black one, which is also very much a candidate for eliteness. You've got Phantom and Ghost, both great candidates for eliteness. Blue Ace could be eliteness. You know, you've got all of your great ones. You know, what is it? Where is it? Wedge's X-Wing. There it is. Wedge's X-Wing, good for eliteness as well. That's 6 elites. The issue is you need to run yellow and red. You can do that though, right? We've got yellow-red pilots. They exist all everywhere. You've got your Dash Wedge, your Han Poe, I guess. You know, you got these pilots. You could even go with it being a 1-cost plot with 1 pilot and then a 16-point character. You know, you could go Dash and then Dash and then any 12-pointer, for example. But I really want to try and fit Luke in there. So is Luke good enough, you know, to be to be non-elite? Because if Luke is good enough to be non-elite, which I think he might be, because Jarkaiing a vehicle seems pretty good. If Luke is good enough to be non-elite, then you've got 11 points there. We got 12 points with Hera. They're both pilots. So, at that point, that's 23 points. You've got either a 7-point character or an 8-point pilot. Do we have, drumroll please, any 8-point pilots that are yellow? Because we need the yellow stuff. Do we have a 3Y pilots deck on our hands for potentially the very first time? We do. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you the elite yellow pilot you have always been looking for, Grease Deetris! Grease is a pilot, and he's yellow, and he's 8 points, and he's got a really cool effect that I really don't want to ever have to make a deck about, because, it's so annoying having to make a Grease deck, because I really don't know how they work. Like, you've got to have everything be the same. It's difficult. It's really difficult to make a Grease deck. Honestly, Sarcastic might come back for a release party, and he'll probably play a Grease deck, and he'll win the competition, but otherwise I haven't seen basically anyone get a good chance of making a Grease deck. And it's scary. But, I mean, on the other hand, because of the way it works, you can order the piloting to go after. So you can check Grease first, so that if Grease fails on you, you just remove Grease's dice and then you get to roll in the pilots as normal. So at that point, he's just an 8-point on a stick for 8 health, you know. And at that point, I'd rather play the true pilot in this universe. Anakin Skywalker. The kid, you're going to have a point spare, but that kid, he has money on him. You could play him elite and not play Hera elite, so get all of the money you want, and that kid is going to make you so much money. And you know what? I haven't even talked about it. But Mill, they might really like this. Mill might really, really like this. I don't have it up. God damn it. Give me Anakin's Pod Racer. My people! We have... No. Pod Racer. I asked for Pod Racer. There we go. Anakin Skywalker's Pod Racer right here. It's a this die. It's a this die. You get to do both of them. It costs 2. It's got Ambush. You can play Ambush and Deflector Shield. You've got the Anakin Skywalker's Pod Racer. If you're a Mill deck, you could do Mill Pilots. It's got what you want because you get 2 dice with Anakin. You get to resolve them both, discard 2 cards from your opponent's hand. I mean, you also don't need to play Anakin. You can just play any... I mean, Anakin's a good pilot. Anakin's good in Mill, let's be honest here, because of the discard from hand. But you can always just play Mill with discard from top of deck with Elite. But Anakin Skywalker's Pod Racer, yet another contender for a very decent Elite vehicle. But only because you're wanting to go for, like, a Mill route. But if you're playing Anakin, I mean... Maybe if you're just playing Anakin straight up, you're going Luke, Hera, Anakin. That's your 3. And then Anakin Skywalker's Pod Racer might be good enough to just include anyway and just hit your opponent's hand, remove them deny them of options to let your other vehicles come in and be completely unstoppable. Let Hera come in, she's going to be completely unstoppable. You're going to get all those extra value off, and then you're going to hit someone really hard. And it's also got a plus side modifier. It's also got a plus side with resource. I mean, Not the most reliable of things, but modified resource side with Luke to make them +2s, that could work. It's just going to cost you 4 resources up front. That's a lot of money. It's going to cost you 4 resources. I'm not sure if you'd want to play that at 4 resources. Which is why I like the Phantom a lot. Because it only costs 1. Anyway, guys. Thank you for watching. This has been me, Gameslayer999. That wasn't a great outro. I'll do it again. I'm not used to talking in front of a camera. Thank you guys for watching. This has been me, Gameslayer999, aka No Brainer. Signing off. Need to maintain eye contact. Where's the button? Where's the button? How do I? Oh my god. There we go. Now I can see the camera slightly. No, I lost eye contact. No, maintain eye contact. Maintain eye contact. Maintain eye contact. Captain, maintain eye contact as I press